Mrs. Claus' potential Violent Night 2 appearance addressed by writers in intriguing writing update. Violent Night 2 co-writer Josh Miller addresses the potential appearance of Mrs. Claus. The 2022 action comedy followed David Harbour as an embittered and discouraged Santa Claus who stumbles upon the Lightstone family being held hostage on Christmas Eve. Praised by audiences and considered a relative commercial success, having generated $76 million worldwide, a sequel to the holiday film was announced in 2023. Details about Violent Night 2 remain scarce, but Miller and Pat Casey are working on the script, and ideas for incorporating Mrs. Claus and other elements have been swirling. During a recent interview with CinemaBlend, Miller discussed the possibility of Mrs. Claus being played by Winona Ryder in Violent Night 2. He explained that Ryder's name had not come up and chose to stay quiet about the potential inclusion of Santa's wife altogether. However, Miller did reveal some new information about the Violent Night sequel, noting that it will contain similarities to the original as well as Western movies. Read his comments below. Osh Miller: I hadn't even thought about Winona. I mean, yeah, we can't comment on casting, and probably shouldn't even comment on whether she is or isn't in the movie at all. I think it'll feel very similar to the first one in the way people want. But maybe the one tease we can say that's not giving anything away is, if the first one was drawing a lot from a certain type of action movie, we're trying to draw inspiration for this one a bit from Westerns. It's not going to be a Western, but has some Western story elements and thematics. What this update means for Violent Night 2. Because Mrs. Claus was mentioned in Violent Night, viewers are anticipating her being part of the sequel. Some names floating around for the role include Charlize Theron, but having Ryder join Violent Night 2, given her connection to Harbour through Stranger Things, would make for instant chemistry. As he was communicating with Trudy, Leah Brady, via walkie-talkie, Santa suggests that his marriage had been tested over centuries. Later on, though, he expresses a desire to return home, and when recouping the sleigh, notices Mrs. Claus had packed his hammer, Skullcrusher, which demonstrates their strong and often sweet relationship. While almost everything regarding Violent Night 2 is unknown, Miller's comments about the Western genre may hint at a different kind of story where Mrs. Claus can appear. The first Violent Night seemed to take inspiration from heist and home invasion movies, even referencing Home Alone, by having Santa combat a group of assailants intent on stealing from Gertrude Lightstone, Beverly D'Angelo. It was also consistently bloody, so assuming the sequel maintains that level of brutality, adding in Western elements could indicate that a battle in the North Pole and slash or themes of vengeance and redemption are on the way. Our take on the Violent Night 2 update. Despite a lack of confirmation by Miller, the character of Mrs. Claus will likely be introduced in Violent Night 2. Should the upcoming holiday sequel include aspects commonly linked to Westerns, it is possible that Santa's wife may simply remain by his side or find herself in peril at some point during the film. But considering what has been revealed of that relationship and the creative gore on display in Violent Night, it would be exciting to see more of their romance while having Mrs. Claus be involved in all the action alongside Harbour's Santa.